Welcome to Deerhound Productions. My name is DaneCat33, and today, I'll be diving into some of Five Nights at Freddy's most mysterious characters, those being the Shadow Animatronics. Let's start with Shadow Freddy. I mean, after all, this is Five Nights at Freddy's. This purpley bear first appeared in FNAF 2 as a rare Easter egg. In the third game, he plays a much bigger role in the post-night minigames. Here, he tells the animatronics, "Follow me," and leads them to the safe room. But they're unable to enter since the room isn't programmed into their digital maps. Then, before they can leave, Eusebnd quickly dismantles them. For years, it wasn't quite clear what was going on here, but luckily Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria simulator helped shed some light on this. In the Sandy ending, Henry seems to discuss those events.
He lured them all back to a familiar place, back with familiar tricks. He set some kind of trap. I don't know what it was, but he led them there, again. He overpowered them, again. And he robbed them of the only thing that they had, again.
Henry saying that Afton set a trap with familiar tricks to bring the animatronics to him seems to imply that Shadow Freddy was somehow part of Afton's scheme. This is hinted at further in the Fruity Maze minigame. Here we see Afton luring a girl named Susie, who possesses Chica after her death. He uses the phrase, "follow me," the same thing that Shadow Freddy tells the animatronics. And remember, Henry said that Afton used familiar tricks. Shadow Freddy even appears in the Five Nights at Freddy's 3-night gameplay, which could hint that he's specifically connected to Afton, who's the only real animatronic that appears in this game. This might indicate that he's something similar to the Phantoms, who are ghostly animatronics seemingly conjured by Springtrap. They have the same eye textures as him, they only appear when Springtrap is active, and in the Fazbear's Fright story based on this game, we see Springtrap creating hallucinations of the main character's past trauma. So considering that Shadow Freddy seems to be part of Afton's trap, and that he appears during the main FNAF 3 gameplay, maybe he's a Phantom? However, he lacks the same eye texture and never actually attacks the players, so maybe not. I think it's more likely that Shadow Freddy is the manifestation of William Afton's crimes. In Five Nights at Freddy's, human emotion is a very powerful thing. According to a character from the Fazbear's Frights books named Dr. Phineas, human emotion is slower to impact, more insidious. It emanates from us, or is excreted from us, if you will, like sweat or tears, and it wafts outward like a noxious cloud, soaking to the surroundings. You see, I'm convinced that agony is a greater energetic radius and power than any other emotion. I've done numerous experiments to measure, capture, contain, and study the leftover emotion embedded into objects that were near a tragedy. My work is focused on my hypothesis they can take a saturation of agony, add any kind of intelligence, even an artificial one, and they will combine together to transmute the energy of emotion into the energy of physical action. This, I believe, is what explains what people call haunted objects. It's possible that the agony from Afton's killing spree spawned Shadow Freddy. His purple appearance and white glowing eyes even resemble William's FNAF 2 sprite. Shadow Freddy also wouldn't be the first time that we've seen agony creating an entity. And Into the Pit, the main antagonist known as the Yellow Rabbit or Yellow Thing is implied to be a monster born from the agony of Afton's crimes. The game makes it very clear that William still exists. We see him multiple times and hear him being springlocked in a secret phone call. So obviously Afton's story still plays out all the same. Meaning Yellow Thing never actually killed the kids back in 1985. That was of course William. Furthermore, the Fazbear Frights epilogues confirm that the ball pit doesn't actually travel through time. It allows people to experience the memories of the souls trapped inside the pit. So the Yellow Thing appears to be formed from the memories of Afton's misdeeds. Eleanor is also implied to have been created from the disaster surrounding Freddy's. In the final Fazbear's Fright epilogue, the spirit inside the Stitch Wraith, Jake, arrives at the ball pit to lay Eleanor to rest, and as he does, he thinks about her and the pit. It was like a graveyard for the souls of victims of a wicked wrongness that he didn't fully understand. What had happened here? Where did Eleanor come from? Had she caused all this chaos, or had the chaos somehow caused her? While it's not clear, this could be read as hinting that Eleanor spawned from Afton's evil. I mean, she even looks like Circus Baby, who is possessed by William Afton's daughter. Adding on to this, in a weird dream during the 10th epilogue, she bursts out of Afton's chest with her cheeks formed from his flesh, and her mouth and teeth red with his blood. So if the Yellow Thing and Eleanor were created from the agony of Afton's crimes, then it's absolutely possible that Shadow Freddy was as well. Hence why he lures the animatronics to the safe room just like William did. He's a manifestation of Afton's crimes, so it makes sense that we see him mimicking that. That being said, one thing that really confuses me is why the agony of Afton's crimes manifests as a Freddy. Wouldn't it make more sense to appear as a rabbit? There are a couple reasons this could be. One possibility presents itself in the Silver Eyes. While these books take place in a separate universe, some of the events happen very similarly to the games, so it's worth taking a look at them. When Afton abducted children at Freddy's, a character named John spotted him. But instead of wearing his classic Spring Bonnie suit, he was using Golden Freddy. This could imply that at one point when he was luring victims, he used the Golden Freddy or Fredbear suit, hence why Shadow Freddy appears as a shadowy Golden Freddy. Another possibility is that Golden Freddy was the costume Afton used to abduct children at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. In FNAF 2 Save Them minigame, we see 5 new victims scattered throughout the establishment, which clearly aren't the original dead kids since Withered Freddy is already haunted during this minigame. The phone guy named Ralph says that someone used a yellow suit, but he never specifies that it was Spring Bonnie. So perhaps Golden Freddy was used to commit these new murders. After all, we never see Spring Bonnie at this location. However, I don't believe Afton used Golden Freddy at all. More likely, I think Shadow Freddy's appearance represents how Afton's crimes are tied to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and Fazbear Entertainment. This could even relate to something that Ralph says in FNAF 2.
I wanted to ease your mind about any rumors you might have heard lately. You know how these local stories come and go and seldom mean anything. I can personally assure you that whatever is going on out there, however tragic it may be, has nothing to do with our establishment.
Unlike what Ralph mistakenly believes, the tragedies that occurred are very much connected to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Shadow Freddy is a symbol of Afton's evil at the heart of the establishment, which is why we see him after the murders in FNAF 2, why he lures the ghost to the safe room, and why he appears at Fazbear's Fright, a location that serves as a monument to Freddy's legacy. He is a representation of the murders and tragedies surrounding the pizzerias. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator further implies this. The game's fake-out opening seems to depict the night that Charlie died at Freddy's, which was portrayed similarly in Take Cake to the Children. Note the kids wearing green shirts being fed by Freddy Fazbear. And before you say this isn't Freddy, this is clearly a brown bear with black accessories. And if that wasn't enough, Pizzeria Simulator and Ticket to Fun confirms this. The security puppet minigame also depicts Charlotte's death, and notably, Charlie and all the other kids are wearing wristbands. Ticket to Fun reveals that these wristbands are from Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and Charlotte Emily is even shown on the same page. So clearly she died at a Freddy's location, making it more likely that Pizzeria Simulator's opening is meant to be the same tragic night. Granted, these minigames do have some differences, like Freddy's delivering pizza instead of cake, but I think that change was made to work with the Pizzeria Simulator fake-out. The general depiction of Freddy feeding green-shirted kids makes it seem like a retelling of Take Cake to the Children. Pizzeria Simulator even used those minigame sprites for teasers, so there's very obviously a connection here. And what's really interesting about this opening taking place on the night of Charlie's death is that Shadow Freddy is here. As the level progresses, gray bears with glowing eyes appear. The Ultimate Guide refers to these as Shadow Freddy's, and the Character Encyclopedia states that Shadow Freddy appears in Pizzeria Simulator, so that's definitely him. He even has the same glowing eyes from FNAF 2. What's really interesting is that his first chronological appearance is on the night of Charlie's death, the first tragedy at Freddy's, which solidifies that he's a manifestation of the disasters at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. But if you need even more, Nightmare implies this too. In the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 game files, he's referred to as Shadow Freddy. Even outside of that, it seems pretty clear that there's a connection between the two. Both Shadow Freddy and Nightmare are shadowy recolors of Golden Freddy / Fredbear, so that seems pretty straightforward. Rolling with the idea that Nightmare is a monstrous version of Shadow Freddy, then this line in UCN makes a lot of sense. Again, Shadow Freddy and by extension Nightmare appear to be manifestation of Afton's crimes, hence why Nightmare claims he's William's wickedness. However, Nightmare also says, "The Shadow fears me." This seems to imply that Shadow Freddy fears Nightmare, so maybe they're not the same character, or perhaps he's an even more evil version of him. I mean, he is a nightmare, I guess. I'm not quite sure what this means, however I thought it was still worth pointing out since it could debunk the idea that Nightmare is Shadow Freddy. But even if they aren't connected, FNAF 3 and Pizzeria Simulator still make it very clear that Shadow Freddy is a symbol of Afton's crimes at the pizzerias, first spawning after Charlie died, then later appearing in FNAF 2 following Afton's murder spree. He returned into the FNAF 3 minigames to echo Afton's crimes, and he showed up at Fazbear's Fright, an attraction based on the disasters at Freddy's. I find it so cool how he's a manifestation of the darkness lurking in the pizzeria, represented by Freddy Fazbear himself. It's awesome that the establishment's mascot has his own evil version that symbolizes the agony and tragedy of Afton's deeds. It's so cool! Moving on, let's take a look at RWQFSFASXC, also known as Shadow Bonnie or RXQ for short. I'll be calling them RXQ because I am not saying that whole keyboard smash name again. This Shadow Rabbit first appeared in FNAF 2, and he might represent William Afton, given that he's typically associated with rabbits. This could explain why RXQ is often depicted as an enemy, unlike the more docile Shadow Freddy. In UCN, RXQ is a non-lethal threat, and in Fazbear's Frights, Eleanor attaches him to a boy named Toby, and he feeds on his negative emotions. In Special Delivery, if the player collects too much Dark Remnant, it summons the Shadowy Rabbit. While it's never confirmed, Dark Remnant is likely Agony, as Remnant is made up of spirits and memory, and we can reasonably assume that a negative version of memory is Agony. So it seems that RXQ is also formed from that motion, just like Shadow Freddy. Eleanor attaching him to Toby and Frights also hints at this, as again, Eleanor herself appears to be made from Afton's crimes. This begs the question of why Shadow Freddy isn't depicted as a threat as well. And I believe it's because he's a symbol of the tragedies at Freddy's, while RXQ clearly represents Afton's evil. However, in Five Nights at Freddy's 3's minigames, RXQ does help set Afton's victims free, which doesn't exactly jive with his villainous role in later entries. The way Scott viewed him may have changed, as he is only depicted as helpful in FNAF 3. Everything afterwards has made him out to be a more malicious entity. It's possible that Scott didn't entirely have Agony planned out until later into FNAF's run, and after fleshing that out, he had RXQ depicted more villainously. However, if I had to look at this from a story perspective, maybe RXQ wants to make amends for the evil actions that spawned him. I don't think that really makes sense, but neither do the FNAF 3 minigames. They're all very nonsensical. So perhaps RXQ helping the kids in those doesn't really matter. Overall, it's made very clear that this character is yet another Agony manifestation. Instead of representing the darkness in the heart of Freddy's, RXQ symbolizes Afton's evil. While he and Shadow Freddy are some of the most well-known Shadow characters, there are quite a few more, so let's just run through those real quick. Five Nights at Freddy's 3 introduces a lot of new shadows, such as Shadow Puppet, Shadow BBs, and Shadow Cupcakes. Judging from all these characters crying, it looks like they too are a representation of the agony from Afton's crimes. Tear streaks are also commonly associated with agony. In Fazbear's Frights, when Afton uses the anger of a boy named Andrew to kill people, their bodies wither and black tears run down their faces. After Yellow Thing is defeated and into the pit, black tears pour from his eyes, further implying that they're a sign of agony. It even seems that Charlotte's death caused the marionette's tears. We see in the security puppet minigame that he initially lacked the purple tear streaks, but after being haunted by Charlie, they appeared, which implies that her death caused them to manifest. Considering that all of these shadow characters are sobbing, they're likely representations of the agony that Afton caused. The shadow puppet is obviously tied to Charlie's death, however I'm not quite sure what the symbolism of there only being 3 shadow BBs is. After all, Afton did kill a lot more than 3 kids. There are also only 4 Shadow Cupcakes in Night 3, but in a secret area in Chica's party, there are 5, clearly representing Afton's 5 victims who were trying to put to rest during the minigames. Moving on from FNAF 3, in UCN, a shadowy version of DD known as XOR can appear and spawn a whole host of threats. According to Scott Cawthon, her name has no real significance, and I doubt her role does either.
I named Shadow DD XOR, and I'm not sure why. But like with most of the other characters in this franchise, whenever I'm making them, some name immediately comes to mind. It doesn't mean anything, but that's the name of Shadow DD.
If you wanted to read more into her character, you could say that she represents the agony of the vengeful spirit, who was murdered by Afton and torments him during this installment. The final Shadow character in the mainline games is Shadow Mangle, who appears in Help Wanted. However, unlike the other Shadows, this one is simply a video game character in the hard mode Mangle Vent Repair, so I doubt she's formed from any agony or suffering. The fanverse also has a couple of Shadow characters, and we'll cover them in our Candies and Pop Goes Universe timeline. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned more about the Shadow animatronics throughout the series. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and join our Patreon and YouTube monthly memberships. Special thanks to our current members listed on screen, we appreciate your support. Please consider becoming a member yourself. It helps us continue making videos like this one, and both memberships have a range of cool perks such as shoutouts, early access to ad-free videos, custom emojis, badges next to your name, exclusive previews of upcoming projects, and more. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our other videos.